Good morning, all. Today we are going to read yet another topic of forensic medicine, that is weapon examination. It is one of your aspect in your forensic medicine practical exam. So let's proceed with what is weapon examination. As you all know, in case a person is injured, either the patient is alive or dead, the investigating officer seizes the weapon in the crime scene or when the accused is arrested, then that weapon is brought to the medical officer or to the autopsy surgeon, and various opinions are to be made after examining that weapon. Uh, the investigating officer will have different kinds of question whether or not such injuries which are present on the body of the person can be caused by this particular weapon or cannot be caused by this particular weapon. So regarding that, we do a thorough examination of the weapon and we give a weapon examination report. So that report has to be given in a particular format. Okay. So why this weapon examination becomes important? Because we have to first is we have to identify and we have to describe weapons which are of medical legal importance, which are most commonly used, and even to be able to prepare a weapon report to give opinion regarding the injuries which are present on the person described in the injury or the postmortem report, so as to connect the weapon with the injuries. So what is a weapon? So weapons are the means or the mechanical devices which when applied in a hostile manner will produce injury. So what are the weapons? These are the means or the mechanical devices which when applied in a hostile manner will produce injury. So there are various types of weapons. No weapon is a simple weapon. Okay, first thing. And it is either dangerous weapon or the deadly weapon. So dangerous weapon, we read under section 118.1 and 118.2 of the BNS, which defines weapon as so any instrument which is used for shooting. Shooting means firearm, or stabbing, that is pointed object, or cutting, that is sharp edged weapon, or any instrument which used as a weapon of offense is likely to cause death or by means of fire or any heated substance. If any heated substance is also used to cause injury, that is also taken as a dangerous weapon, or by means of any poison or any corrosive substance. So even poisons and corrosives are the dangerous weapons, or by means of any explosive substance, or by means of any substance which is deleterious to human body to inhale, to swallow, and to receive into the blood by means of any animal. That means any snake bite or any sting bite, wasp bite. So all these bites which are not accidental but are intentionally used as a weapon to cause injury or hurt or harm to any person is described as the dangerous weapon. Then we have the deadly weapon. So what is deadly weapon? That is described under section 191 of the BNS, which deals with the deadly weapon. So that is described as whosoever is guilty of writing, being harmed with deadly weapon, which when used as a weapon of offense is likely to cause death, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term or which may extend up to 3 years or fine or even both. Okay, so that is a deadly weapon. So guilty of writing, being harmed with a deadly weapon, or which when used as a weapon of offense is likely to cause death, shall be punished for a year and which may also extend up to 3 years with fine or with both. So no weapon is a simple weapon. It is either deadly if it fulfills all the criteria that is given under the dangerous weapon and the deadly weapon. Okay. So now we are going to deal with different kinds of weapon. So now we are going to read about different kinds of weapons. First is the hardened blunt weapon, like your balun or your lathi or wooden stick. They all are hardened blunt weapons. Sharp and cutting weapons, like your knife, kitchen knife, or razor, blades. They all are sharp and cutting weapons. Now we have pointed weapons, spade, which has a pointed end. Okay, so even knives which have got a pointed weapon. Knives are of different variety. One of which can have either a broad surface, but still it has a pointed end, and some has the double edge, double cutting edges. Okay, and with or without a pointed ends. Mixed variety means where it acts as, so the mixed variety is spearhead. Okay, where the end is having a pointed end, but the edges are not pointed, are not even sharp cutting. Okay, only the end has a pointed end. Okay, then firearm, as you all know, various kinds of pistols, rifles, smooth bore, and all will come under firearm. So moving on to the hard and blunt, depending on the weight, they can be light, moderately weigh, heavy, depending on the surface, a smooth surface or irregular surface, and depending upon the property, flexible, like a whip, where the typical pattern of injuries that are produced by whip is like an encircling pattern it will make. The injuries will not only be present on the front of the body, but also on the back surface. Whereas the non-flexible weapons like lathi, you don't find this encircling pattern. Only if the injuries are produced on the front, then only the injuries will be seen on the front surface. If the injuries are produced on the back, the injuries will only be seen on the back surface of the body. It does not produce an encircling pattern. So here you can see the diagram. Here in the diagram, you can see this is the hardened blunt weapon, that is heavy weapon. But the surface of this hard and blunt weapon is smooth, whereas on the other side you can see hard and blunt weapon, but it's a flexible one, that is the rope. Okay, now again, a sharp cutting weapon, depending on the weight, they are again divided into light, moderately heavy. Depending on the edges, they can be single cutting edge or double or both sides cutting edges, and depending on the point, either the sharp cutting edge with pointed ends or sharp cutting edge with non-pointed end. Here you can see the example of it. Here you see it is a sharp cutting weapon. It is a heavy weapon, and depending on the edge, it has a single cutting edge. This single cutting edge, and it has a pointed end. This is the pointed end. Okay. So, what are the kinds of injuries that are produced by various kinds of weapon? Heavy blunt weapon will produce all kinds of injuries, including abrasion, laceration, contusion, fracture, but it does not produce stab or chop wounds. Okay. And light, sharp cutting weapon, it mainly produces incised wound, like razor or the surgical blade. It produces the incised wound. And heavy, sharp cutting weapon will produce mainly chop wounds with cutting edges, and it causes laceration, fracture, contusion from the handle if present. And sharp pointed weapon mainly causes stab wound and rarely scratch or tramline bruises or the fracture. So here you can see it is a sharp cutting weapon with a point, sharp cutting edge weapon with pointed ends, and it can produce stab wound. Okay, it is a sharp pointed weapon. It can produce stab wound, but rarely it will cause fracture. Okay, here you can see it is also a sharp cutting, but it does not have a pointed edge. It has a blunt ends. Okay, it does not have a pointed end. Now we see the various kinds of weapons. See this, the hammer that you are seeing, it is hard and blunt and it is moderately heavy. The weapon beside it is hard and blunt, but it has a smooth surface. Here is also hard and blunt, but it is moderately heavy. It is also hard and blunt, but it is irregular surface. So we saw moderately heavy, hard and blunt, which which has both smooth surface, irregular surface. Here you see hard and blunt, but it is a light weapon. This is hard and blunt, and it is moderately heavy. Example, brick. Next, we move on. We will again revise again. This is the hard and blunt, and it is a heavy. Example, stone. It is hard and blunt, and it is flexible. That is rope. Here you can see it is non-flexible or rod-like. So it is hard and blunt and non-flexible. It is the picture beside it is sharp cutting weapons. That is moderately heavy. Here you can see it has a pointed end. Okay. This is like a blunt, but this one has a pointed end. Now do you see the various kinds of sharp cutting weapons. This does not have a pointed end. It has a blunt end. The next one here is a sharp cutting with the, this too does not have a very pointed ends. Okay. Next you see the example. We have a sharp cutting edge with pointed ends. Okay. This is also sharp cutting with pointed ends. These are the sharp cutting light weapons. Okay. Cutting weapon which is moderately heavy. Moderately to heavy. Okay. This is sharp cutting with pointed edge. This is sharp cutting with blunt edge. Okay. Now we have seen the weapon. So whenever a weapon is produced or is brought to the autopsy surgeon or to the medical officer for examination, this is how we examine the weapon. We the pack and the seal that is there on the weapon, we open it and we put a label. In that we mention the crime number, under what section it is booked, which police station and the date, and then we keep a measuring tape and then we measure the weapon. Here again you can see a wooden stick or a block like has been brought. So again what we do, we put a label and a measuring tape and then we examine. This is having a smooth surface. Okay. Here you see the surface is irregular. So this is how we examine the weapon. Now, again, if you see, this is the weapon that has been brought to us for examination. So this is how we are mentioning the expert opinion number, the crime number, under what section it is booked, which police station it is brought from, and then we take photograph with the measuring tape. So when we are taking the measurement, if there is if there is a curve, then the measurement might not be the same. It varies from various parts. So each part is measured individually. Okay. So here we took the whole length of the whole length of the weapon we have taken. Here the curved ends are measured independently, same like here, where the curve start, that measurement is taken independently. Okay. Then this is the handle. We are measuring. The handle has a round, or the ends are round. So here the circumference of the ends are taken. Okay. So this is how we furnish the report, where we give first we address. Addressing is done to the police officer or to the investigating officer, to the circle inspector, this name, and then we start with the subject. Here we give a reference. Reference means the police will first give you a request to examine the weapon that has been brought. So that reference number, the letter, that reference in under reference, that letter, uh, on what date it was issued or was given, has to be mentioned. Which police station, under what is the crime number, under what section it is booked, and then if the patient has died, then postmortem number. Okay, dated this of this person, aged this. So we are writing received alleged confiscated weapon from and which was packed in a separate white cloth bearing intact seals and label with details of the crime number and the related sections. So this is how we did the examination. First, we wrote as article number 1 that was given. The white cloth covering the weapon had a label with details of the case and had intact seals. Was written on the label of this article. On removal of the white cloth, weapon was found to be a sickle. So we are mentioning the name of the weapon that was brought, the sickle. What was the weight? So the total weight of the sickle was 392 grams and the total length was 40 centimeter. Then we are mentioning about the various parts of the weapon that was brought. The blade. So it was a black colored metal blade with a total length of 23 centimeter and a width of 5 centimeter at its largest width. That means it must be having a curve. Okay, so the thickness of the blade was 0.3 centimeter and blade has one sharp edge and one blunt edge, and the blade tapered to a sharp and a pointed tip. So we had mentioned that the blade had a sharp and a pointed tip. Okay, now handle. So the handle to which the blade was fixed was made of wood. It was brownish in color. It has a total length of 17 centimeter and a circumference of 11 centimeter. Then we are telling that we have the weapon was packed, sealed, and returned, and the photograph containing both the articles is enclosed, and a mark you have after examination of the weapon, you have to put a mark, like a mark of MS or whatever initials you can put, has been put on the weapon after examination. So this is how we do the examination part. So why we are right, and now we are examining the article number 2, which was produced along with the article number 1. So the article 2, the white cloth covering the weapon had a label with details of the case and intact C. And on removal of the white cloth, the weapon was found to be that of a stick, okay, which was made from areca tree stem, and the total weight of the stick was 366 gram, and the total length was 83. Its circumference was 18.6 at the center, 11 centimeter at the broad end, and 9.5 centimeter at the narrow end, and the presence of the brownish red colored dried stains noted at the narrow end. And the weapon was packed, sealed, and returned, and the photograph containing both articles is enclosed. And a mark of MS has been put on the weapon after examination. So, how did we give the opinion? The last thing that we gave was the opinion. So, regarding external injuries, 1, 2, 3, 4, that was mentioned in the post-mortem report, and the internal craniocerebral injuries mentioned in the concerned post-mortem report was most likely to have been produced by the above mentioned alleged confiscated sickle or any other similar weapon. External injuries number 6, 8, and 9, as mentioned in the concerned post-mortem report, are most likely to have been produced by the above mentioned alleged confiscated stick made from the areca tree stem or any other similar weapon. Okay, so this is how after examination we pack, seal, and return the weapon. So this is the when you write the post weapon examination, this is the first part where you are addressing to the investigating officer, like to the investigating officer of this police station, and then you give the reference that your letter number this dated with pack seal weapon. Okay, what was the post injury report number or the post-mortem number that was issued on what date? Okay, with reference to the above report, I am sending you the report of the weapon. Okay, so then comes the body of the report where you are writing about the name of the weapon and the kind of the weapon, and then you are describing the weapon, the weight, the total length, the blade, what was its length, breadth, texture, and about the edges, margin, and stains for foreign body if it was present. Okay, about the joint or the handle, what type was it? Okay, and the length, the breadth, circumference, stains, everything you have to mention. Then you give after writing about the description of the weapon. Now you give the opinion, like okay, the injuries that are possible by this weapon, identification mark if any. That means some of the weapons might have some of the identification marks from where it is manufactured, the name and all will be there. So that acts as one of the identification marks. And then the weapon was packed, sealed, and handed over to this person of police station. This for further investigation by the FSL for chemical analysis. Then you do what? You put the name, date, and weapon, and then you put the sign, seal. Uh, you put your designation, and uh, then your whole of the report is prepared. Okay, so this is the format. Again, we are revising it. This is the reference. First is the addressing to the investigating officer. Then is there a reference. Then with the reference to that, we have examined the weapon, which is the body of the report, where you are mentioning the name, type, and the weight of the weapon and all stains, if any, and the various dimension. Then you give your opinion. Okay, the external injuries were this and this, as present in the wound or the post-mortem report, could or could not be caused by the above examined weapon. And after examination, the weapon was marked or signed and then packed, sealed, and handed over to the PC number this of the name of the officer who has come to collect the weapon of this police station. And then you put your name, seal, signature, designation, and return the weapon along with the report. So as here you can see, this is one of the example that I'm giving you. This is the injury. That is it. What is it? If anybody can describe what is it? It is actually a stab wound. Okay. So we mentioned this in the postmortem. That is a stab wound, which was elliptical in shape, obliquely placed, measuring this centimeter in the front of the chest and all that. We wrote. Okay. And the injury was produced by a sharp force. Okay. Then this is the weapon that the police got to us. Okay. Where this is the seal. Okay. That the police gave. Inside it was the weapon. Then we opened the seal and we removed the weapon from this packet. We placed it on the table with the measuring tape, and plus what expert opinion we are giving, that label also we are putting and taking a photograph. Then we are writing, after the examination of the alleged confiscated weapon and the perusal of the post-mortem report of this person, aged 31-year male, I am of the opinion that the external injuries number 1 and 2 under the heading external injuries are most likely to have been produced by the weapon or any other similar weapon. Okay. Another injury that you can see, these are what? These are the chalk wounds. So this is the weapon that the police got, that whether or not these weapon can cause the injuries. Then we described about each weapon. Okay, the article number, this was a machine. The weight was this, the length was this, it has two parts, the handle and the blade, and its dimensions we mentioned. Then again, we examined the second article or the second weapon, which was also a machine, and the total length and the weight we gave. And then um we wrote about its various parts. Then again, we examined the third article. Okay, the length was this, the handle was this much, the length and weight of all was this. Then we are writing, I am of the opinion. Then we are giving the opinion that I am of the external injuries number 1 to 8 and until 52 to 57 mentioned in the post-mortem could have been caused by the alleged confiscated weapon. Okay, thank you. So this brings us to the end of the weapon examination report. Thank you.